Hello, today I'm going to be introducing you to a different kind of notation. We have solfa notation or solfege, but there is a different kind of notation. When you look at singers, pianists, musicians, the string people, when they play, you see like a musical sheet or a sheet of paper or papers in front of them, and they're looking at it and playing. It's great to have some knowledge of this. So I'm going to start teaching you on that. And it's fun when you learn how they work. So just basic knowledge, and maybe we'll take it from there, okay, based on what you want me to do. So the first one is semi-breve. Semi-breve lasts for a whole bar. A whole bar is made up of 4 beats, okay? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. That is a bar. And if you play or sing a note that lasts this long, it's called a semi-breve. Now, the word semi means half. So if there's a semi-breve, then there's got to be a breve. So a breve lasts for 2 bars, but we're not going to major on this. So if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, that's 1 bar, and go again 1, 2, 3, 4, that's 2 bars, right? So if I sing a note this long, like that is a breve. In fact, that's the longest one. And then we come to semi-breve, which is more popular than the breve, okay? So the semi-breve, like I said, lasts for 4 beats. That's it. And then in America, in the US, it's called a whole note. Okay, here in the UK, it is called a semi-breve. And so the next one is a minim. A minim is half the value of a semi-breve. Okay, so if we have 4 beats in a bar, 1, 2, 3, 4, and sing for just 2 beats in the bar, that is a minim. Okay, that is a semi-breve. Okay, so a note that lasts for just 2 beats in the bar. In America or in the US, it's called half notes. But here in the UK, it is called a minim. So we come to the next one, crotchet, which is a quarter note in the US as it's called. And here is called the crotchet. Okay, so a crotchet, as you may have guessed, is half the value of the last one, half the value of a minim. So a crotchet would be 1. Just 1 beat of the bar. So if we have 4 crochets in 1 bar, it will sound like this. All right. And then just 1 in the bar will sound like this. So the next one is a quaver, and in the US it's called an 8 note. Okay. And here it's called a quaver, obviously. And a quaver is half of a crochet. So if a crochet is 1, 2, 3, 4, a crochet is 1 beat in the bar, then a quaver will be half of that 1 beat. How do we get this? We get this by putting an and in the middle of each number. So you go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. That breaks all the note down into a quaver. Da 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 da. So a note will sound like this. And we can still break it further down. You can keep going down and down and down. So the next one is a semiquaver. A semiquaver is a 16th note. And as you may have guessed, again, it's the half of the previous one. So it's getting faster now. So if we have 1, 2, 3, 4, you're going to have 4 notes in 1 beat. Just like that. It's amazing. We can even break it down to have 8 notes in 1 beat, and it's called a demi-semi-quaver. And even still break that down to have a hemi-demi-semi-quaver. Okay, but we're not gonna go that deep. Okay, let's just stop at semi-quaver. Now, if you take a close look at the quaver, semi-quaver, and so on and so forth, you'd notice these extra components to them. And I'll break it down. We can break it down into 3 segments. So the top part of it is called the flag. It looks like a flag, right? And then the vertical part of it is called the stem. And then the round part at the bottom is called the note head. Now for a quaver, you'd have only 1 flag. For a semi-quaver, you'd have 2 flags. and so on and so forth. Another thing I would like to mention here is dots. Sometimes you notice dots beside a note or a notation. When a dot is placed beside a notation, in this case, let's take, for instance, the semibreve or a whole note. When a dot is placed beside it, it means that whole note plus half of its value. So that's a 1.5 beat. Okay. So for instance, we have a semibreve and a dot. It means 1, 2, 3, 4, a note that lasts this long, plus half of its value. So we kind of extend it. So we have so that means it's a note that lasts for a whole beat and another half beat put together. So a semibreve with a dot simply means you're taking a semibreve and adding a minim to it. A semibreve plus a minim is just the same thing as writing a semibreve with a dot by its side. And then when you go to a minim and put a dot beside it, it means a minim plus a crochet. Again, remember, a minim lasts for 2 beats. But we want it longer, but extended by just half of its value. So you add a dot beside it, and it's equal to a minim plus a crochet, because a crochet is half of its value, half of the minim's value. Okay, so we go 3. Okay, so you can do that with the other notations as well. You can add a dot to a crochet, and that means a crochet plus half of its value. That means a crochet plus a quaver, and so on and so forth. And now let's take a look at something else in the musical sheet, and it's called a staff. Now, if you just have the symbol, maybe a semibreve symbol, it gives you only one information, and that is the duration of what notes, Until it's placed on a staff, it doesn't have a sound, okay? You haven't assigned a sound to it. And that's where we come to a staff. So the term staff or stave itself refers to a set of 5 horizontal lines and 4 spaces on a sheet music. Each of these lines and 4 spaces represent notes or different musical pitches. Now, if you look closely, you'd notice that each section of the musical staff comprises 5 lines and 4 spaces. So if I put my hand like this, I have 4 fingers. Imagine this is lines, right? If I have this 5 lines, right? Look at the spaces between. We have only 4 spaces. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's just as simple as that. We have 5 lines and 4 spaces in the musical staff. And then we have 2 kinds of staff. We have the bass staff, and then we have the treble staff. Okay, a treble is represented by this symbol here, and a bass is represented by this symbol here. So the bass staff is the lowest staff that sits directly below the treble staff on the grand stave, starting at the low G line, extending to an A below middle C. The treble staff is the most common stave. This staff is distinguished by the treble clef with its lowest line notes pitch at E, ranging up to F on the top line. Now, if you want to remember the lines or the notes of the lines, just think about Every Good Boy Deserves Favor. E, G, B, D, F. Yeah, Every Good Boy Deserves Favor. You'd never forget it with this. And then for the spaces, remember the 4 spaces, you can remember it with face. F-A-C-E. That's it. There's one more thing I think you should know. There are several other symbols in this musical notation, but there's just one more I thought is important that you should know, and that is a rest. For instance, when a musical instrument is playing, or even when you're singing, there are spaces where you don't sing. Like if we sing Silent Night, this space before I sing the next line is a rest. Holy night. Did you hear that? Silent night, holy night. Okay, so the space between silent night and holy night is a rest. Okay, so the rest is represented by this symbol. As the name suggests, rest showcase breaks in musical notation. They can hold the same value as traditional notes. For instance, an eighth note has the same amount of value as an eighth rest. A quarter note, a quarter rest. A half note, a half rest, and so on and so forth. Rests are usually situated within the middle of the staff lines. So this is where I'm going to stop for today. In the next video, we'll form melodies and see how they are placed. All these notes, semi-brief, minim, crochet, quaver, semi-quaver, are placed on especially the treble clef, which is the most common. Okay, so I hope you learned a lot. And if you have any question, don't forget to ask me, or you want me to make a video concerning any subject, feel free. Let me know. All right, thank you so much for watching, and see you next time. Bye-bye.